got a rat that you've made famous. You've got this little rat that basically, and people don't necessarily think of a rat as a celebrity.
Sure.
But this little thing, this dude, this long-legged, long-armed, creepy little rat. How did I get in your head?
Oh, gosh. So, you are referring to Rosko.
Mm-hmm.
His name, the origin of his name, I purposely intend on keeping a secret on how I got his name. The name of this rat and how I got to his name is actually very, very, very near and dear to my heart.
Photogels.
And yeah. And so I may at some point divulge how I got his name, but today is not that day. What do we say to the god of death? Not today. I think it's funny to switch the accent up in like the middle of that. Like,
right?
What do we say to the god of death? Not today, please. It just,
So yours is better than mine. I just sound like I'm a dirty man, you know?
Why that's so funny. You just Cheech and Chong. Not today, friend. I mean, what? You want to say what to the god of death? So Rosko is just kind of this weird sort of creation out of a lot of the things that I love. So animation, like old school animation. I grew up watching Looney Tunes, the Tex Avery stuff, like just absolutely loved it. And I used to wake up like super early and didn't want to wake my parents up, so I would watch Looney Tunes on mute. And so just like the visual gags alone of those shows of the series was enough. You didn't even need the sounds.
Yeah.
When you turn the sounds on, obviously it added to it. But the animation was just so good. It was just so good. And so it was a lot of that combined with like street art and culture and just music and it's just this weird amalgamation of the things that I love kind of manifested themselves into this freaking rat. One day I was just doodling and he just popped out of nowhere, and he's not very different. Like, you know, when you look at like Bart Simpson, when Matt Groening first drew him, and you look at Bart Simpson now, you're like, what were you thinking? He looks nothing like, you know, the first few iterations of Rosko were slightly different, but he's like, I feel like I've kind of hit like, this is how you draw who Rosko is. And he's got a couple of things that are telltale. You've got the sort of bandage across his nose. You've got the bandage across one of his arms. You've got the little tag out of his ear, and his freaking shoes are always untied. And all of those things are on purpose. Those all have significant meaning to me.
Oh, really?
So I've tied a lot of those things into his character. And just the way I draw him and the things that I put him in, I always try and think of something that is important to me, whether it was a moment in time or a friend or a memory or any of those things. I try and implement that into anything that I do or draw or paint. So this one in particular, like, you know, I'll show it to the main camera. He's holding a water bottle, but not very well because it's spilling out everywhere and all the bottles are spilling out, and there's a real rat on a balloon. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Come back. And
that is so cool. And that's a hydro flask, right?
This is a hydro flask. I've dropped it multiple times. It's got scratches and stuff on it. And then these guys right here, the instigators, they're just always yelling.
The instigators.
So I've got stuff on here that's like, this one doesn't have a whole lot of like the paraphernalia that I try and include in all of the pieces. And actually the shirt on here, I don't know if you can see that on your...
Yeah.
So that is the logo for a band called MXPX. And that is one of my wife's favorite bands. She grew up listening to MXPX, and they had this little punk rock dude. And so I try and incorporate it's fun to me to build universes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more stuff you can kind of tie in from things that you already know that you love, when people recognize that, it becomes this instant bond. And I actually had someone comment on the YouTube video for this. They were like, I'm so happy that you put MXPX in this t-shirt. And that, I mean, it does. It becomes an instant sort of thing that people recognize and they bond with. And like, okay, I understand the vibe of who this person is. I get what you're doing here. I'm on board. So never call attention to it. Never say like, check this out or look at this thing that I did. Like, it's just always very subdued. You know, I enjoy that style of art, of comedy, of music, of film, of literature. I love this subdued importance when you do something that is so big and important, but you don't say anything about it. It to me, you feel more attached to it when you notice it.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, look at this. It's just, you feel like you earned something. You feel like you got there on your own if you arrive at that conclusion yourself. To me, that, I don't know. There's just something about that connection that you can't fake. And if you can create that.